Hello, viewers. The Legal Edge Law School family is extremely thrilled to have Mr. Anchit Oswal with us today. Mr. Anchit is a graduate from NLIU Bhopal and is currently serving as one of the partners at Khaitan and Company. It's a pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
So, sir, this is basically our perspective of your introduction based on your LinkedIn profile that we could gather. So, can you explain to our viewers that how did law happen to you?
Law actually was not my first choice. So it was a bit of luck and bit of chance. Right. So after my graduation, I was exploring options. And one thing that I had clear in my mind is I would want to do something which has an opportunity to do independent work. That bit was clear. And added to that, my father's foresight that lawyering is going to be a blooming profession in years to come. That played on my mind. And eventually, then I met one of my seniors who was studying at NLIU. And I did meet him. And after speaking to him, I was sort of convinced that this could be a good professional choice. So that's how I ended up doing law.
That sounds really interesting, though. And, for our viewers, I think the entire journey of entering into a law college and then gradually becoming a partner at one of the leading law firms, I think that is the one thing they're excited a lot about. And many of them wanted to be in your place and, go through this journey. So, sir, can you just, take us back in time and elaborate a little bit more on your initial day as an associate and how gradually you turn up to become a partner. How was that journey for you?
Yeah, sure. So you're right. When someone is graduating from a law school, uh, people nowadays plan the whole trajectory. But with
Trajectory.
me, I never planned. I never planned being a partner at one of the biggest law firms in India. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and the journey was like this: that when you enter as an associate in a law firm, it's a new world because what we are taught at law school is a lot of variance at what the actual reality of the practice is, right? But I was fortunate enough to be part of a firm which is so diverse, not just in the spectrum of clients, but the nature of work that we do. So I was very fortunate to start on a multiple kind of matters, starting from consumer matters to civil matters, to criminal matters to constitutional matters, and all this happened right in my first year. I was part of one of the biggest arbitrations, which is resulted into a landmark judgment in Supreme Court. So that first initial years gave me a lot of confidence in terms of variety. Second was that I was very fortunate that I was surrounded by very good people. The work culture of Khaitan was and it continues to be one of the best. The support system, all of it was great and still is great. And I never felt like that, I was working. It was so much fun because actually there were a couple of my batchmates who joined with me, my very good friends. So those initial years with them, it was like an extension of college, just at a little more work. And so it translated very smoothly for me. As I grew up the ladder, so to speak, the you know responsibility increases, right, with each level. So initially, as an associate, you're supposed to take care of the matter, in the sense you're supposed to be aware of the files, keep the order sheet updated, do your research, keep the memos ready. But as you go up the ladder, the responsibility in terms of facing the client, right? Because if you're on a matter, it may happen that client may call you directly to ask for some small advice or how would you deal with it. So that is how, in terms of responsibility increases, then as you grow, your team also increases. The other role that you start playing is of mentorship. Some people do it voluntarily, some people have to do it involuntarily as well. but yes, there are juniors that you have to look after, and you have to ensure, at least I had this in my mind, that whatever good culture that I inherited should be passed on to the people who are joining our team and are part of the firm. So yeah, that's how the journey has been.
Sounds like a very interesting career trajectory till now, sir. And just at this point, I would like to bring this question in front of you that since most of our viewers are either students who are about to go to law school or who are currently in the initial years of law school, so and most of them might be first generation lawyers. There's no one to guide them or tell them what to do, how to do. So, are there certain things that or are there certain mistakes when you go back the memory lane that you feel ki law school mein this is something that you could have done differently, or as an associate there are certain things that you learned the hard way which you can share your experience with the viewers?
Yeah, sure. No, in hindsight, you tend to think of a lot of things that you could have done better. One thing that I really feel, I mean, this is my own personal experience, which I should have done better, is to lead a very, you know, voluntary life, in the sense that you uh, make choices, whatever choice that you make, and you think about the consequences. I was very in the flow guy, like whatever happens, you participate. But I would urge whoever is into law school is to plan a little bit, identify your areas of interest early on. The fact that someone is able to identify an area is half the victory, because a lot of us get confused on, what areas interest us, how should we choose. And then once you've identified an area, you go all out, because once you graduate, you will realize that this is the only time probably when you have luxury of time to deep dive into subjects which you really like, right? And now in this day and age of data, which is so much available, even freely available on multiple sources, it makes all the more reason for students to not to restrict themselves to what is being taught in law school, right? Now is the time when the horizon can be really expanded, given that so much information is available so easily. Just sitting at your chair and table, you can actually learn from the best of professors across best of universities. So make good use of resources which are available. Have some broad trajectory in mind, that where you want to go, and most importantly, align with people who are better than you, right? Because there's so much learning. I can personally think of a couple of people from my batch. From mere friendships with them, I've grown so much. So just make sure that you have friends which who are better than you, and who can help you grow as a person. So yeah, those things, and of course fun is very very important. All this is fine, but without the fun, it's no deep friendships. And later or sooner, some people realize that friendships are because see, law is such a demanding profession. So unless you have those deep friendships, you it's very difficult to survive the whole term, because there would be days when you need your friends to talk about things. So have deep friendships in your law schools.
That's a great suggestion. And I think what happened is when we enter law school, and to continue this debate on, when we enter law school, we got so many opportunity to develop certain traits. Okay, and one of them is being a very good orator, or very good at communication. But do you really think that being a good orator is directly proportional that you will become a great lawyer? Or there are other options as well? Because there are some of the students that we, during our mentoring and academic batches, come across, they're not comfortable talking up, on stages or have a one-to-many conversations. So they have this apprehension whether we will become a good lawyer or not.
See, oratory in law as a profession is always a very good quality to have, right? Oratory plays a very important role, because the role of any lawyer, be it a litigating lawyer or a corporate lawyer, uh, involves an aspect of convincing other, right? If you are in a court of law, you are convincing the judge or you are convincing the other side if you are in a transaction or a deal making process, you are convincing multiple stakeholders, starting with your own clients and the other side's lawyer and commercial negotiations. So oratory is important. uh, and therefore whoever is not comfortable or whoever is not a good orator should consciously think and practice oratory. And I'm not saying that oratory is the only skills, right? So supposing even if you're a good orator, I can only tell people about my experience in court of law, right? From a litigation perspective. So oratory is important, but if you're not able to connect to the person you are speaking to, for example, if there is a judge who does not appreciate very verbose sentences, who does not appreciate very high vocabulary, who does not appreciate very flowery language, your oratory skills could be negative at that time. So more than oratory, you have to have those human skills. You have to have you should develop a knack of knowing what exactly is your audience wanting. Now when I say audience, it could be a judge, right? It could be the other side's counsel, and you have to tone down. So for example, uh, if you are habitual of practicing in higher courts, but on a day you are arguing before a district court, where proceedings are usually in Hindi or they are partially in English. And if you continue your same attitude before the district court, it is more likely than not that judge may not buy your points. So you have to really sort of articulate and tone yourself down at times. But the point that I'm trying to make is oratory is just one aspect which is important. But if you are able to connect and understand what the judge is wanting, then chances are that you might have better outcomes. Because I have seen people in court who may not be very fluent in English, but they end up getting relief because they have read their papers, they are fully prepared. And at times judges tend to indulge people who they may think are not very well speaking but have got all bases covered. So it's important to have your bases covered rather than just focusing on your oratory skills.
Thank you for that piece of advice, sir. I think a lot of viewers will be now, they'll take a sigh of relief that it's okay. It's important to develop other skills also that will help them succeed in life. And at this point, I would like to bring a very pertinent question that I think a lot of students face as well. The issue that they face is that in today's day and age, there are a lot of law firms in India, but then there are only a handful of tier one law firms, so to say, that come into picture. And every student, be it from a national law university or not from a national law university, they dream and aspire to get internship at such law firms, maybe once in their 5 year law school journey or 3 year law school journey. And let's assume, sir, that just in case someone has cracked that and has got the internship in a tier one law firm, how can that person make the most of it? Because people reach there, but then they don't know what to do, how to make the most use of that internship so that they gain certain information as well, and they might get a chance of getting a PPO as well.
Yeah, no, internships are becoming very difficult to get. So whoever has gotten an internship, not only in a tier one law firm, anywhere. So my advice, whatever little points that I want to say, will should apply to internship anywhere, irrespective of whether it's a tier one law firm, whether it's a startup. But as a person, you should first of all put yourself into the shoes of your mentor at the firm or wherever you are interning, right? So if something is being outsourced to you, just put yourself into the shoes of the persons who is giving you work, that how will you help the other person relieve his burden or help him with the process. So if you are into that mindset, then you have few questions yourself, and you end up answering themselves well, in the sense that you will be able to figure out, yes, if the person has asked me a note, why don't I also give reference to the case laws which I'm going to rely? If the person has asked me for say comparison on multiple issues, why don't I just make a table and make his life easier, right? If the person has asked you to compile case laws, why don't I name the PDF in such a manner that the relevant paras are there itself in the name of the PDF, right? So, I mean, you have to make the person's life easier, number one. Number two, you have to be proactive, right? I mean, now proactive, not so much that you come across right on the face of someone, but proactive has to be a balanced approach where you are available and you are genuinely available. You are not trying to, earn brownie points on something, but you're genuinely available and delivering on time. Third is you have to build trust, right? People who intern, students who intern, should always try that they establish a trust with their mentor. How will you establish trust? Number one, by being available. Number two, by giving your work in time. Number three, by asking questions if you're not clear, right? And number four, it happens practically multiple times that you get work from many people at the same time. But one mistake that sometimes interns do is that they don't take into confidence the first person who is already given work and start working on assignment number two. You can do multiple things at a time depending on how you want to do it, but at least take the other person in confidence that, Anchit, there's someone else who's given me work. I'm just going to finish it and then I'll come back to you. That's completely fine. Last suggestion is that you ask questions, right? Because and it also depends on what kind of mentors you are faced with. Some people, they appreciate questions because they know that at least the intern is thinking about something. And there are people who don't like too many questions, who assume that the students would understand what the task is and finish it off. So you have to, again, as I said, gauge the person's personality, but ask questions, before deep diving into any concepts. And most important is you have to be systematic, right? Very systematic, in fact, that all your work should be very neatly kept, very neatly presented. There should not be any typographical, grammatical errors, because that is how you will distinguish yourself from someone who is not so systematic, right? So being systematic also helps.
I think all those pointers will help, is going to help a lot of our viewers out there because they're still, navigating through their law journey. And you have been in this journey for more than 10 years and you have experienced hand on the environment of law firms or what and how their working are is. So certain students have this perception that the environment of law firm will need you to give in long hours because that is the need of the work or this is how things work at the law firm. How true is this statement?
This statement is not just true for law firm. This statement is absolutely true for anyone who is practicing law in any form. The fact that people say that law is a jealous mistress, it is 200% true. I mean, if you have to be a lawyer of some standing, take it from me that you will not be able to be a lawyer of standing unless you put in hours more than what you can think. It is, you have to put in hours. There is no other way. So the only difference is that initially when you put in hours, you take a little longer to understand the nuances, but as you practice, it's just that you can grasp multiple things quickly. The speed increases, but still, once you grow up the ladder, you are not just faced with one issue, you are faced with multiple issues, right? And your brain is constantly juggling information and figuring out not just the law, because as you grow, you have to think about strategy as well. You have to think about the points which the other side is going to argue. You have to think the uh, uh, commercial aspect of things. Legally it may be a great solution, but if you implement it, the client is going to die commercially. What sense will it make? So initially the thinking is very linear, in the sense, if you're working on a matter, you would want that you have checked all the laws, you have your list of dates in place. But as you grow up, it starts branching out, right? So it's like a tree, and each branch has like multiple sub branches. So anyone who is in law or planning to be in law, uh, I can say it with little confidence that it requires a lot of hours. You have to put in a lot of hours. So yeah.
All the students out there, I think they know now what they are maybe getting into or what they're aspiring to become. That is, it's very good to have a clear picture, and who better to know than a person who has the experience of more than 10 years in the industry to tell this about. So, sir, I would like to ask you that there are a lot of students who, let's say, they go into law school, but out of the extracurricular activities or co curricular activities that are available, they don't feel like doing everything. Certain people might want to do just mooting, or maybe just want to write research papers, or just get into debating or MUN, or certain people might just want to focus on their studies and not participate at all in extracurricular or co curricular. So, sir, based on your experience, can you just advise them on how to make the most out of their law school? Like, there cannot be a set straitjacket formula, but based on your experience, like, these are the things that a person should focus on during their law school journey.
See, in hindsight, I think that everyone should try to do everything. Trying is important, and they should try, and even if they fail, they are much better than people who have not tried at all. So I would suggest you try, fail, no problem, but you try everything. You, even if you are a little worried about, I've never done mooting, start with an easy moot. Partner with someone who will support you through the process. See, the process of participation itself will enhance you so much as a human being. You will form partnerships with people you probably have never talked to. You will know their way of working, you will know their way of thinking. And once you are before a senior, or maybe, if you're talking about an internal mood system, you would have faced all those challenges in your 5 years, which are going to come anyway in your life. So don't miss that opportunity of facing challenges without any severe consequences. Because at the worst, what will happen? You will not win the moot. People will probably laugh at you, but you would have at least faced it in your law school. And that will give you so much confidence once you're out, that should do everything, in my view. Right? But, even if someone is not convinced for doing everything, then at least whatever, for example, if person is clear that he wants to be a litigating lawyer, then moots of course is a very good thing. Someone is clear that he wants to be in academics, then writing articles should be focused on. So as I said in my first answer, that if you're clear on your trajectory, then choose activities which will help you further your role on that trajectory.
I'll just have one follow-up question that I think during my initial days also I felt this way. And when a student enters law school, is it okay to not have a clear idea of what the student wants to do ahead? Is it fine? Like, or is the student lagging somewhere, and the student should get clarity from the moment he enters law school?
See, it is completely okay if you don't have clarity. It's completely okay. But what is not okay is not having a will to have clarity. I mean, see, day one you don't have clarity, that's fine. But at least this question should be in your head that, boss, I need to have clarity at some stage. A broad clarity. See, even if you want to change paths later on, that's completely fine. But have this question in yourself that, uh, take feedback from your classmates, from your close five classmates, that, boss, what do you think are my five top qualities? Right? And broadly you will get a sense that, you are good as a person, or you are very good at academics, or you're very good as a orator, or you're very good at writing. And then assess that these people have given me a genuine feedback. Maybe, this is the line I could explore. That much is enough. But don't be a person and leave it on gods to tell you that, you should do this. Don't do that. Have a broad sense, and even if you're not able to figure out after 5 years, that's completely fine. But have this question in your mind, is mind wise.
As much as we are liking to, continue this conversation for a very long time, it's feel like a senior person, as a senior, just a college
Exactly.
senior, give us a lot of advice, and we just want to, gather all of them together. But towards you, that is our last question. That one piece of advice that finally, after your journey in law for more than 10 years, that one thing that you would like to tell all the younger law students out there, that this is the one thing that you definitely should stick by in law as a career.
See, one thing is that at the end of day, everyone is human, right? So never lose your character as a human. I mean, all of it, partnership, great lawyers, that's all fine. I mean, if you have to play the long term game, you have to be a genuine human being, number one, and you have to take care of your health. See, I mean, if you don't have health, if you can't sit straight, how will you do any of it? Right? So please, even when you're starting out, even when you are in college, take good care of your health. Health is both physical and mental. Right? Physical is important and mentally is equally important. So early on, do some meditation, do all of it. It really increases your brain power. So be a good human being, focus on your health, and be ready to work hard. Be ready to work hard. Don't cow down. Don't worry about challenges. And one thing is that if you break any big challenge into small challenges, like if you think you, for example, if you're drafting a special leave petition in Supreme Court, you've never drafted, break it down. So how will you break it down? Number one, you will ask for a format which is already there, so you know what the format looks like, right? You prepare a list of dates of important events which is ready. You have a format, you have a list of dates, just make a small note on what are the important applicable laws. Just do a second piece and read some cases around that. That will give you so much clarity when you've broken down the mammoth challenge of drafting an SLP. If you break it down into step by step, then it becomes easier. So don't be cowed down that have to read 1,000 pages and draft an SLP or do whatever. Just break it down into small deliverables, achieve it one by one, and you will be through.
Thank you for such an insightful session, sir, and such amazing piece of advices. And I think more than sharing about your experiences with our viewers, what you have actually, I think maybe unintentionally you have held them with, is giving them those small tips and tricks that will make their law school journey and their career ahead a lot much easier. So thank you so much for your time, sir, and it was a pleasure to have you with us today.
No, no, thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. I hope I'm able to do my bit a little bit. But thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank you,
my
sir.
Thank you